What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 13 team building video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Xerneas. Now, Xerneas, you might ask, why? Because there is a thing called Zacian running around, and maybe even Xerneas running around. And you might ask, again, the question, why are we trying to run Xerneas? It's because, other than those two, Xerneas does really well against a lot of the meta. If you consider like getting a Geomancy boost, right? Like, first of all, you don't even need Geomancy to beat Yveltal, right? So that's already a plus for Xern. Kyogre can't really do so much damage after a Geomancy, and then you can just hit it really hard right back. And then you consider things that are on the rise, something like Zekrom, for example. Then, you know, Xerneas does really well against that. But again, like, the power of Xerneas just does so well against, you know, things that's not named Zacian, right? You can, you know, Groudon special defense isn't all that great, so Xerneas can take care of that as well. So the only thing you really have to worry yourself about is, how do I support Xerneas, where like Zacian, the threat of Zacian is like almost mitigated, right? And, you know, if you look at Series 12, a lot of people were scared to run Xerneas, or maybe not really scared, or maybe just thought it was unoptimal, but I was glad to see it have won a regional in Thailand, right? That was done by Nantaro, and, you know, it was a great idea to use Xerneas with Groudon, right? And we're going to do that again here, but this time for Series 13. You know, again, I'm always a big supporter of Xerneas and Groudon, right? I made this in Series 12. I gave it to a friend. They used it in the Hatterene Series tournament. They got top cut there. So it obviously works. It's just that, you know, do you have the courage, or do you want to put yourself in trying to use Xerneas? And I think it does really, really well, because, like, you can't let this thing set up. If this thing gets set up, it's over, right? So now you just have to worry about, how do I get speed control? How do I worry about Zacian and amongst other threats, right? So, you know, we got Xerneas, we've got Groudon. Of course, we need a Sun Abuser. And why not Charizard, right? Again, Charizard can just handle Zacian relatively well. Like, if you got Xerneas and Charizard on the field, you know, the Zacian player has to make a decision. Like, do I take out the Xerneas in exchange for Charizard blowing me up? And if so, what happens after that, right? So, you know, this is why, you know, you have to run these three, right? Because then this is how you can almost offset that Zacian threat. And then from here, you know, I like Incineroar. You know, again, same exact reason, right? You know, you're able to have fake out pressure to help set up your Geomancy. You're able to intimidate those Zacians and other physical threats like a Groudon, for example. Calyrex-Ice Rider, Calyrex-Shadow. Incin is still the GOAT in a VGC format, even in Series 13, where just so many mythicals and legendaries running around. I still think you need Incineroar on a Groudon kind of team, especially with Xerneas. You know, this is a good backbone to have, right? And then from here, where can you go in terms of the rest of the... You got 2 slots left, so what now? Well, honestly, you know, why not our own Zacian, right? We've seen success with Zacian Groudon teams, with Charizard and Incin in the past in Series 12. Why not bring that back again? And, you know, this time, you know, Zacian's got a friend in Groudon, because now we can start running that Solar Blade tech. You know, this is really good against Kyogres and really good against Groudons too. And I have a certain EV spread that makes it very, very useful in trying to run Solar Blade for those 2 reasons. So stay tuned for that spread in a second. But, you know, Zacian makes a lot of sense. It's the strongest restricted, puts on a lot of pressure against a lot of things. You know, it just works, right? And then in our last slot, you know, just to have overall bulk in the rest of the team, you know, Grimmsnarl also makes a lot of sense. I've thought about adding stuff like maybe, you know, Indeedee, you know, a redirector to help Xerneas set up, or even like an Amogus, you know, also helps set up, also does well into Trick Room. You know, I thought about all these things. I considered them, I tried them, but I just felt like Grimmsnarl was just a tad bit better for what I was trying to do with the team, right? So ideally, you know, Grimmsnarl with the screen support, Groudon, Charizard, and Zacian, they enjoy it. And games where you can't really bring Xern, at least, you know, you can have the core of, like, you know, Grimmsnarl, and then have like Groudon, Charizard as your potential 1 or 2 max options, and then Zacian in the back, right? And then for those Calyrex games, you obviously would just want to bring in Incin, and then set up screens and just offset that damage that they want to do, and then maybe max the Groudon in the late game and have Zacian clean up when Trick Room is over, right? So these are the ideas that I was thinking about in building this team. And now you just consider like, okay, how well can I do against everything else, right? Like, is Magearna a threat? Not really, right? Because you got Groudon, Zard, and even Incin, and then Xerneas after Geomancy doesn't really take a whole lot of damage from Magearna, right? Because Magearna's a special attacker and we're getting that Geomancy boost off. So there's that. Again, we have the answers to Kyogre. We can change the weather. We can blow it up with Solar Blade. Again, Calyrex, both of them. You have Incin and Grimmsnarl to help you out there. So a lot of good answers to a lot of the popular meta threats. Okay, and Zern just deals with things that just don't have the tools on the team that want to deal with it, right? Like, you can blow up Yveltal, you can blow up Palkias, right? Even like the lower tier restrictors like Dialga, you can handle that relatively well. So there's merit to running Xerneas. It has to be respected, and if they have to respect Xerneas, then I don't know how much resources they can dedicate to stopping the rest of the team, right? So this is my thought process here with this type of Xern-Don team. So let's go ahead and reveal the GIFs, and let's build the team with the EVs, items, and movesets. So we got Xerneas and Incin. Of course, then we have the Charizard, Groudon, Suncore, Zacian. It's the strongest restricted, and of course Grimmsnarl, just the glue that makes it all stick. The creme de la creme that makes it all work. Of course you gotta run it. So this is the 6 that I'm gonna go with. And now what we're gonna do is, again, let's build the team and let's showcase it in a few battles. Also showcase a couple of damage calcs, so this way you can understand the thought process that I was thinking of while building the team. All right, so let's go forward. Okay, so again, now with Xern, what we're gonna do is, again, just like I do with all the teams, we're gonna build the squad with the movesets and the items, and then the EVs, right? Because the moves and the items often dictate your EV spreads, right? So let's do that first. So of course, it's a very standard set: Moonblast, single target, Dazzling Gleam, spread move, Geomancy, your main setup move, and of course Protect in that last slot. And then of course this is going to be a power-up set because you want your Geomancy to just take 1 turn and not 2. All right, Groudon. So we've got Grimmsnarl here, and might as well just go with the Assault Vest. Be super bulky, be able to take a couple of Kyogre Water Spouts. So that's the idea here. Precipice Blades. Again, Stone Edge is a really good move. You can go Rock Slide. That's also totally fine. I still like a Fire move on Groudon here, just so that I don't always have to rely on Precipice Blades if I have to KO something that's important, like a Zacian for that matter, in the sun. And then also Shadow Claw is my tech choice here. Now you can run something like Thunder Punch. I think that's really good against Kyogre also and other flying types. But we have Stone Edge for that answer, and I do like Shadow Claw because some games where you have to max Groudon, drop defenses to make yourself do more damage, and then make Zacian also do more damage from the back. So there's merit there. Good against Lunala, good against Calyrex, Shadow Rider. It's a jack of all trades. I like it a lot. All right, Charizard. Okay, so of course Solar Power because we want to get extra damage in the sun. This will be. I'm gonna show you the item in a second, but because it's a surprise. But Blast Burn and Hurricane, these are your 2 stat moves. Now, if you want, you can run Solar Beam here, but I do like Solar Blade tech. But again, I'll give you some options. If you run Solar Beam here, okay, then you don't need Solar Blade anymore. You can do something like Substitute or Play Rough, and that's totally fine on your Zacian, right? This will help you a little bit more in Trick Room, right? Because then you can just set up screens, click Substitute, the turn they click Trick Room, and then your Zacian is fine, right? Because then you can just alternate Protects and then just slowly burn their Trick Room turn. So you have that option. But I do have the Ancient Power tech, just for the opposing Zard matchup. And, again, here we just have Solar Blade, right? Because we still need that grass coverage overall. All right, and then Protect here in the last slot. Now, this is something that started to rise toward the end of Series 12, and we're going to bring that back again for this format here, and it's going to be Weakness Policy Charizard. I was testing this out and I very much enjoyed it. I can't believe I didn't try and use this earlier, but it is so good, especially when you have things like Kyogre's clicking Water Spouts, electric moves running around, Groudon clicking rock moves. It's so good because think about it. If you're switching Groudon and maybe even have a screen setup or 2, like, Zard's going to take a lot of damage, but then you proc Weakness Policy, and now Zard is going to hit even harder if it even had a Life Orb, right? And now you hide behind those screens, and Zard is just like sweeping everything, right? So this is the merit behind weakness policy Charizard, and I'll show the EV spread. I'll show a couple test games where where the weakness policy bulky Charizard did come in the clutch, and again, it was just so good. Like, I was just surprised at how well it worked, but more on that later. But instant here, Shuka Berry, of course, you know, able to take those max quakes, aka Groudon moves relatively well. Standard set here, Flare Blitz, Fake Out, Parting Shot, of course, and then what was the Throat Chop, right? Dark move is always really, really nice. Now, that being said, if you want, you can run something cool like Focus Sash, right? And then just do like max Jolly 252 Incin on lead. So this way, if they lead Kyogre, they click Water Spout, you're able to survive and get off a Parting Shot and reposition, like, and get in Groudon or Xerneas, for example, right? So if you want to go that route, that's also very good. But here, I'm just going to go Shuka Berry just because this is what I was using when I was building the team. All right, Zacian, of course, Behemoth Blade, standard here, Sacred Sword, standard, Solar Blade, not so standard, but a nice little tech, Protect, of course, in the last slot, and then Grimmsnarl, also relatively standard, like Clay Set, double screens with Spirit Break stab move, really good against Yveltal, really good against Palkia stuff, Light Screen and Reflect, of course, where is that? There it is. And then Scary Face is also really nice, a little bit more speed control. So this way, what you can do is, I'll show the spread in a second, but you can lead, you know, Zern, Grimmsnarl. If they lead Kyogre, you Scary Face it. If they want to click Tailwind, you're going to outspeed it, get off your Geomancy first, and now Kyogre's in big trouble, right? Now, if they have Zacian leads, then, you know, we have to reposition with Incin a little bit. Like Zern Incin would be my lead, and then, you know, just, you know, Parting Shot and reposition from there, right? So, but anyway, more on that later when we start talking about the team. But again, we're just building it at the moment. So these are the items. So now what we're going to do is I'll show you the EV spreads, which makes things a little more interesting. So take a look at this. All right, back to Xerneas here. So the thing what I wanted to do with Xerneas, like I was playing with a couple of spreads, right? And the speed tier is all depending on what you want to do with Xern. Do you want to outspeed Alecki after +2? Do you want to outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider after an Airstream? Do you want to outspeed Kyogres and Groudons, like assuming they're all Jolly spreads, you know, after Tailwind, you know, with your Geoman? Do you want to outspeed that? You know, a lot of different things to consider. You know, do you want to go bulkier? Do you want to be harder hitting? So different ways you can play Xern. But what I ultimately decided for our Xerneas is this time, instead of Modest, we are going to go Timid. So we're going to sacrifice some damage, but that's okay. And I'll tell you why that's okay in a second. But my decision was to go for 188 speed investment, and this will outspeed those timid Kyogres that want to go for Water Spout after Tailwind, right? So this was my idea. And then from here, we're just going to go a little bit more bulk, right? 44 investment, you know, 207 is a benchmark for HP. This will optimize weather damage like Rockfall or Max Hailstorm damage. So there's that. And then 212 defense, a lot of defense, right? Because the idea here is after an Intimidate, you can survive one Jolly Behemoth Blade from a Zacian, right? So that is the thought process there. And it does come up sometimes, right? So, you know, all the more bulk that we have, the merrier. And again, you can take Groudon moves relatively well too, especially after, you know, you get a screen or Intimidate off. So I do like a bulky Xern. And then from here, just an even number in the special defense. So this way you optimize your Geomancy boost, because, you know, when you click Geomancy, again, you don't want that odd number. I think this is okay, right? And then from here, just a little bit more in special attack. Just, you know, I thought about just having like no special attack, but 152 is a little like, let's have a little more, like 158, at least that's respectable, especially after Geomancy. So this is my idea there. Outspeed Kyogre, you know, survive Zacian Behemoth Blade. The rest, just dump the rest into special attack with our remaining stuff. So yeah, and then from here, Groudon, Assault Vest Groudon, you know, you can just go with like a very general spread here. But I'm just gonna go Adamant here. And a lot of the Groudons, they're like around anywhere from like 114 to 116. So I decided to just go 118 so I can outspeed them. 156 investment. So second EV bump in the Adamant nature. You see how you go from 207 to 209. Your stat went up by 2 points instead of 1. It's what we call an EV bump. And if you don't know what EV bumps are, all right, you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, comment in the video and I'll explain it to you. But we also have a video on the channel that explains what are EV bumps. So watch that video if you haven't done so already, and that will save me a lot of time in trying to write an answer to your comment, right? So then from here, again, with the Assault Vest, we want that even number. So, you know, that's what I'm shooting for. I just want a good amount of HP, but, you know, just enough where, like, it's bulky, and then I can still get a good amount of investment in special defense, and there's my even number there, right? So it's very general Groudon spread, you know, nothing too crazy. It's just meant to outspeed most Groudons, right? So that's the idea there. And of course, take Kyogre Water Spouts. All right, so this is where the juice comes into play, right? The Charizard weakness policy set. All right, this is going to be a very bulky Charizard that does almost has no investment in special attack. All right, here it is. Like this is not done by me, by the way. I did not come up with this. This is like something that was done by some of the pros, like towards the end of Series 12. And I look at some of their spreads, and they're very similar. And I understand the idea behind it. And we'll talk more about what this spread does when we get into the damage calc portion of the video. But here's the idea. We're going to go modest, not timid anymore. So we're going to be slower Zard than normal. Okay, and we're going to invest 228 EVs in the speed, because what this does, it hits you to 149, which outspeeds a Calyrex Shadow Rider after one Airstream, right? So that's the idea there. And now what we do is we have almost everything in the HP mark, 236 investment, all right? A little bit of defense, all right? A little bit of special attack, and then just 1 point in special defense, right? And I'll explain what this spread does in a moment, but at least understand the speed tier. But in terms of like damage calcs, I want to save that for the damage calc portion of the video, so stay tuned for that. But this is a very bulky Zard that can take Water Spouts. If you bring out the Sun, can take a Regieleki attack, you know, under light screen stuff. And then at the same time, you know, survive the Groudon max Rockfall, you know, attack if you're Dynamax, okay? I want to point that out. Like, we have to be Dynamax, okay? So don't just say, oh, Clover, I died after Rockfall. I'm going to ask, did you max? All right, so keep that in mind. All right, Incin, this one's going to be very standard. This is going to be, you know, there's like 50 million Incin spreads. I just keep it relatively standard in terms of testing purposes. But right here, second EV bump in the Careful Nature, you know, you're able to take those Calyrex moves a little bit better. Also, might I suggest also try this. I was testing this out, and this actually worked really well. If you want Pasho Berry, yo, this berry was actually really good against Kyogre. Okay, it has worked, and I want to try it more off camera. Well, off camera, I have been doing it off camera, but like this is actually a pretty good item in this format, and definitely consider it. But you know, for now we're just gonna go Shuka Berry, but just planting the seed into your minds there, right? You know, I just want to give you some options. Then from here, honestly, you know, just 1 point in attack. You don't really need Incin to do damage, and then just the remaining goes into defense here, right? So relatively standard, simple Incin spread that we've all come to know and love, you know. Zacian. All right, so for the longest time, we've used almost the same Zacian spread, even since like Series 11, where you just have second EV bump in the attack stat, and then you have enough speed to outspeed Regieleki after +1. But I'm going to make a change this time around. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Adamant still, but I'm going to go max speed this time. Okay, so this way we can outspeed the other Adamant Zacians. And what I'm going to do also is invest a lot more attack. All right, 180. Okay, I do want to keep the even number here because I don't want the odd number of something like this, because then I don't get the best bang for my buck with the Rusted Sword boost. I should say the Intrepid Sword boost, because then it'll just go to a decimal and then round it down. We don't want that. So I always want an even number here. And then just a little bit of HP. You know, this is just like my remaining bulk. You can go like 175 here and just like a point here, but then I was like, let's just go 174, and then just a little bit of even distribution in the bulk. And this was fine. Now, I have this spread just because you have a very, very good chance of OHKOing. Actually, you one-shot Groudon, I think. Yeah, that's why I came up with the spread. If you click Solar Blade and the Groudon isn't max, you just one-shot it, which is kind of funny. Max HP Groudon, okay? Max HP Groudon, goodbye, all right? And I think that's worth it if you want to invest this much into a Zacian Solar Blade spread. And then also Dynamax Kyogre, if you swap in your Groudon in the Sun and then they Dynamax their Ogre, Zacian has a slight chance to one-shot a Dynamax Kyogre with Solar Blade, and I think that's great. All right, no bulk Kyogre, by the way. I do want to state that no bulk Kyogre will have a slight chance to get one-shot, right? Imagine you Dynamax your Ogre thinking you want to one-shot the Zacian, and all of a sudden it just one-shots you with Solar Blade. I'll show that calc in a second, but it's a very small chance, but still a lot of damage into Kyogre, and you know, just after like maybe one Wildfire chip, it just drops. So yeah, there's the merit there. Grimmsnarl, so again, with the instant spread, I just want to survive one Behemoth Blade with Reflect and Intimidate on swap. So I'll just go ahead and show that spread. Again, same Grimmsnarl spread that we've been using for a very, very long time. All right, if you've been a fan of the channel, this is what we've been doing. And this is how we're just making our Grimmsnarl spread this time around. Just 1 point in attack and the rest in defense. This is the spread that can do it. Right, even Adamantzations will have a little bit of trouble KOing this thing with Intimidate and Reflect up. So this is it. This is the team. Okay, now I'll show you the pace and just so that you can look at the squad as a whole. Right, what is the team trying to do? You get Sun up. Charizard puts on a lot of pressure, you know, with Airstreams and also, you know, G-Max Wildfire chip damage to the point where either Zacian or Xerneas can come in the back and then just finish the job. Excuse me, with like Geomancy or like, you know, Behemoth Blade stuff and Solar Blade stuff. All right, Trick Room games, you know, Grimmsnarl and or Incin, they're going to be your best friends. You want to hide behind those screens, stall out that Trick Room turns. You know, Groudon's probably going to be your max option, and then Zacian can clean up when the Trick Room turns are up. Okay, you can even do stuff with Xerneas, honestly, because like if you think about it, right, Xerneas, if they're going to lead like Trick Room and a Redirector, still click Geomancy, right? Because like if their Trick Room setter is not in, then like they have to hard swap to get it in, and that's scary because then you just take a +2 Dazzling Gleam, and then you can't really max it anymore. It just takes so much damage. All right, and then Groudon again. Groudon Shadow Claw, Max Phantasm, really good in those Calyrex games where you have to land that and get those defense drops going. But overall, like it's got good supporting backbone with Incin and Grimmsnarl. You have a lot of offense with Charizard, Zacian, and Xern. Even Groudon can then also put out the offense. And then, just a really standard, solid Xern team with a couple of tech choices, right? Like that weakness policies are the Shadow Claw on the ground. So it's a cool team. All right, I liked it a lot. When I was testing it, it was pretty good. But let me show you some damage calcs. So this way, things make sense. And then I'll show you some couple of test games that we did on Showdown. Just so you can see how the team functions. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's look at Xerneas and Zacian matchup. So you see Behemoth Blade just absolutely annihilates Xerneas, right? However, that being said, if you're able to intimidate the Zacian, again, the Behemoth Blade, 85 to 101, so 6.3% chance to KO. You can live and you can get off an attack. So there's that. So good bulk there from Xern. Let's look at Groudon here. Let's look at like a typical, Renia Sun Groudon set where like, it has second EV bump there. P-Blades, again, not even doing half. So that's always good. All right, and then if you have like Reflect up, like look how much this P-Blades is doing. Not a whole lot. We're a very bulky Xern set. So I do like that a lot. And then if we have a Geomancy boost, like look how much this is doing to like Groudon. It does like almost 75% damage at max, right? So on average, maybe about 60 something percent to Groudon. So it's a good 2-hit KO. Groudon can't really do too much to Xern after, especially if you get like Reflect and Intimidates off. So that's really nice. And then Kyogre matchup, right? So I just want to show like what you have to do against Kyogre. So let me just take away some of this old bulk. Let me just say 252. Modest in the rain. So Modest Kyogre in the rain will one-shot Xern, right? Assuming this is Mystic Water. Modest Mystic Water. Okay. However, that being said, on swapping, if you bring in Groudon, look how much this Water Spout is doing now. It's just like 30%, and then you set up Geomancy, and you're gonna do a lot of damage with either Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast, right? So just figure that out, or go figure, right? And then this is how you want to play that matchup. So I really like that a lot. The fact that we can really mitigate Kyogre's damage, especially Modest Mystic Water, which is really strong. But all the power there. Things like Regieleki or Calyrex, like I can show you that at least, just so that you can understand like how strong Xerneas. So let's say Life Orb Alecki, 252 for example. Again, let's just say like Thunder for example. Like I could even say Thunderbolt, but let's just look at Thunder. Like Thunder does a lot, right? But again, you take it and then you get off your Geomancy, and then you just smash it, right? And then, you know, if you're able to get it off before Alecki comes in, you know, this Thunder, for example, just doesn't even do half. It's so strong. And again, this is timid Life Orb Alecki. So ideally, you're fine there. Calyrex, same idea. What about like Calyrex? All right, so let's look at Calyrex-Ice Rider. Okay, so Ice Rider Calyrex. Let's just say this one. Let's say 252, Adamant, right? So Glacial Lance, a lot of damage. If he maxes, we live it. If he's +1, I don't think we live it. However, that being said, we have Instant to come in and intimidate this thing, right? So after an Intimidate, or if he maxes, that almost can do 50% damage, right? He's gonna have a little bit of help from the Hailstorm chip, right? But again, you know, Instant does help a lot with this matchup, so, you know, go figure. And then from here, did I hit everything? Oh yeah, like, do I want to show Palkia and Yveltal? I think you understand that we one-shot that. So let's look at Zard now, right? The Zard one is a little bit more interesting, right? So there's your Zern calcs. Let's look at Zard now. Okay, so here's Charizard, here's Groudon. So let's go ahead and Dynamax these, right? So just Dynamax, of course, we're getting wrecked by Rockfall. But that being said, what if you intimidate this Groudon or set up Reflect? Oh, look at that, max Rockfall, 88%. All right, let's say no Intimidate, let's say just Reflect. More or less the same thing, 1% difference. We actually lived the max Rockfall, okay? And then we can get off a Wildfire damage onto the Groudon, right? Because we'll assume Sun is up. And then at that point, Groudon can kill the Zard. Zard did its job. We survived the Rockfall, we got off the Wildfire damage, and that's really all I want in terms of my Charizard weakness policy max option. All right, this is actually +2. Let's see what +2 does. Like, that almost kills Groudon. Actually, if you target Groudon, you can even almost kill it after a Wildfire chip damage, right? Because it just does so much. And it all depends on their spread. Some of them don't even have so much bulk. They're just like all offense. It depends on their Groudon spread, but I'm just assuming like really, really bulky Groudon here. Okay, so that's really, really nice. Let me show you like Kyogre stuff, right? So Kyogre, let's just go back here, custom set. Let's just say again, 252 modest, okay? In the rain, all right? In the rain. All right, Water Spout does a lot. Bring in the Sun, barely 50%, barely. Almost can't even hit it, all right? Zard now becomes +2, and then, oh man, look how much Wildfire does. It almost actually one-shots wait, let me take away the bulk here. All right, it almost actually one-shots a non-Dynamax, no bulk Kyogre, right? It actually technically does because after the Wildfire chip, goodbye. Airstream absolutely destroys it. So, like, this is actually really, really cool. Now, what if this was Dynamax? Okay, let's say it was a Dynamax Ogre, okay? Let me take away. All right, Dynamax Ogre. Okay, Geyser does a lot. In the Sun, we still live it. We still live the Geyser, okay, which is really funny. And then if we even have Light Screen up, this Geyser does no damage. All right, what if it was Rain and Light Screen? Do I still, okay, I still die. So Light Screen's not gonna help me. All right, if he maxes and he's in the rain. I have to swap in Groudon to really help me out here. Okay, so, but still, hey man, like Wildfire Airstream damage doing a whole lot of work here, and you know, that's really what we want. We want Zard to live the Kyogre stuff, get off that Wildfire, get off that Airstream, and we're kind of just chilling. So really, really cool bulky Zard set with the weakness policy item, and I like it a lot. When I was testing, it was like perfect. This is actually a lot of fun, right? And it's something that, you know, your opponent may not be able to expect. They may assume like Charty Berry, they may assume Life Orb, maybe even Lumberry. But like Zard policy is actually really, really fun. I enjoyed it a lot when I was trying it out. So, you know, consider that. Let's look at Alecki. That's the other one that's the other formidable threat. Not as common as the other two, but still pretty good. Let's look at a Life Orb set. All right. Alecki is going to do a lot of damage here. But if we can get Light Screen up, can I live? Yeah, I can. All right. So I do live a Max Lightning. What is this? It's off of Rising Voltage. Okay, let me see like Thunder. All right, I think it's still more or less the same, right? And then, yeah, see, it's the same calc. So, like, we can live one Lightning, which is good. and then, you know, we just activate Wildfire and Aleki just melts. So I like that a lot. Really cool. The fact that we can also live that as well. So you live Groudon, you live Aleki, you live Kyogre, you know, just get out your sun. With the Aleki, you need that light screen though. So that's the main difference there. So, you know, just things to think about when you're using this policy Zard, right? So I like it a lot. So now let me just show you a couple battles where we were able to use this team and see how it works. Okay, so this one was again, this is like one of those off-meta teams. Like, he's got Lugia here. Like, just remove Lugia, put Zacian, right? Now your team's like a little bit better because this Yveltal, if I remember, was a Tailwind set, which is good. I like that, but like, why is there Lugia here? So, you know, triple electric weakness. All right, I know you have Zekrom, but that's not going to be enough. Just put Zacian on this, man. But like, this is a very easy Xerneas Grimmsnarl lead because like, look how much Zern punishes his team. Look how much Grimmsnarl punishes his team. Like, none of these want to take Spirit Breaks, and none of these want to take like a +2 Dazzling Gleam. Like, Incin's not going to save him, right? So if he wants to fake out, he can fake out. But like, you know, I'm just going to target the Yveltal here and just click Geomancy. But he didn't even go for fake out, right? So he lets me set that up. He goes for Tailwind. All right, there's the parting shot. Zern goes back to +1. That's still going to do so much damage into everything he has. And we chip the Yveltal here. Like, he can max Ogre, but like, what's that going to do? But he actually didn't even do that. So I don't know what my opponent's doing, but this is just an easy D-Gleam, and Yveltal just drops. His Kyogre can't do anything here, and yeah, there's just an easy forfeit, right? Because I have Groudon in the back, and that's just gonna wreck everything that he has. So, you know, very easy Zern game. Let's just take a look at another one. Okay, this is the one where Zard really shines here. So, you know, you would think he has to bring something like Zekrom to help him deal with the Zard, but you'll see how our policy Zard works here. So, Cool Sun team, he's got Victini. Okay, Final Gambit stuff, I understand. Trick Room can be a play, and he's got Yveltal again. But again, you know, we have Zern that can do enough in the back if we can just position it. But here we go. Incin Zard is my play because just in case he wanted to lead any of his 5 physical mons, Incin can intimidate that, right? So anytime I see something that there's like 4 or 5 physical attackers, Incin is always a safe lead here. So this is easy, right? I want to max Zard here. I don't want him to get Trick Room up. I'm just going to fake out the Victini. I'm going to go for, you know, this absolute monster of an Airstream, deal a lot of damage, and watch the Groudon go for the Rockfall here. He goes for Rockfall into Zard. We survive it. Bulky weakness policy Zard. All right, there's the Sand Chip. It's taken over, and now he doesn't even have the Sun to you know, help him KO my Zard. He switches the Victini. I get the Wildfire Chip going. Groudon has a Citrus Berry. He swaps into Zacian. Good play, but like, again, Zacian's still at the mercy of Zard because we clicked Airstream in the beginning. The Sand Chip is not doing enough. The Zard is going to be safe. He protects Zacian. That's okay. I still pin that slot with a Wildfire, and now I go for the parting shot. Weaken the Groudon even more. Zern can take this, especially after Groudon is -2. See how comfortable we take it. And like, Zard is still alive, and there's not a whole lot he can do about it. So this is just like an easy Geomancy, right? Because I can blow up the Zacian here, and now Zern just has the position it needs. There's the Geo. Not a whole lot he can do. Rock Slide, that's not optimal. You know, Zern is just poised to just destroy him now, and the Wildfire is still active, and he has no choice but to click forfeit. So again, there it is. The policy Zard working wonders. All right, this one was a little bit more interesting, right? He's got a hard Trick Room team. I would imagine this Ogre is like super slow, or it's Scarf, you know, just to try and outspeed Calyrex, and he's got Torkoal here, so that's kind of interesting. But I had a theory behind this. Okay, so he goes like an Indeedee Dusclops, right? I go Zern and I go Grimmsnarl. My idea here is like, you know, he's gonna take his turn to set up Trick Room. I'm gonna set up Geomancy, and then next turn, what does he do? He can't switch in his Calyrex, right? Because he can't just take a +2, you know, Dazzling Gleam. That's just too much damage. Groudon's gonna feast on that in the end game. So like, my idea here was just set up Geomancy first, right? And I notice he has no second turn. He has fake out Indeedee. God knows why he's doing that. But here's the Geo, right? So he gets up Trick Room. Okay, but that's fine, right? Because like, he didn't even get in his sweeper. But here's where, this is where he has this silly little gimmick where, okay, he taunts the Grimmsnarl. I wasn't going for a move anyway. I just wanted to chip the Indeedee, okay? And this is how I get punished, because now he gets in his Calyrex. Okay, so he has that. I just don't agree with it, right? And now I'm just gonna lose the Zern for free because now he's just going to. Oh wait, someone's at the door. 1 second. Okay, I'm done answering the door. So where were we? Oh yeah, so I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I'm actually in a lot of trouble. So I mean, I tried to get an Incin here just to like intimidate. I can't swap out the Zern, so I got punished just because he has Eject Button Whimsicott. Who the hell's running that? I don't know. Stop running these things. All right. So I tried to intimidate the Calyrex, but he's just gonna Shadow Sneak, and I'm not going to live this. But you know, it is what it is. All right. So good job, Zern. You did your best there. I can get up Grimmsnarl here, and I can set up Reflect. All right, and I want to preserve the Incin later, so I'm just going to swap in Groudon. I know he's not going to click Hailstorm there. He goes for Taunt, so that's cool. He's going to kill my Grimmsnarl. I mean, you know, like that, but that's it, right? Because his max is done, technically, after this turn, so I know I just have to make a hard read here. I'm just going to go into Incin. I max the Incin, actually. He Quakes it. I live, thank God, thanks to Reflect. A little bit of extra damage. I could have just P-Blazed here, but I went for Shadow Claw. You know, I don't know why I did that. I'm just trying to remember. But now Trick Room's over, right? So now Groudon has a lot of pressure into Calyrex. You know, we have pressure on the Indeedee. I know Kyogre's in the back, but like, I just pray that it's like a slow Kyogre, so this way I can like beat it with Groudon. But yeah, here's the P-Blaze. I missed the Indeedee actually. But that's okay because Incin is faster anyway, and we're able to remove it with the Max Darkness. So not too bad here because now it's just Dusclops and something, and it's actually Torkoal, so no Kyogre in the back, which is very interesting. So now this actually gives me a chance because I don't really care about the Dusclops. I'm just going to go for the Torkoal every single day of the week. There's the P-Blades, and then here is the Max Darkness. And now we just end up winning the game because, you know, a game that was very losable, now I end up winning because he didn't bring Kyogre. Now, granted, like, if it was a slow Ogre, Groudon's faster anyway, and we can get off a P-Blaze. He has to rely on Origin Pulse to try and win the game, but, like, I'll still take my chances, but he brought Torkoal, so I felt like that was a mistake. He should have just brought Kyogre, but yeah. I get punished for Eject Button Whimsicott, not Whimsicott, Eject Button Indeedee. But I still think my Zern play was accurate, right? Because I did not want to give him the free switch, and I just wanted to, you know, alternate Geomancies and Protects until Trick Room was done and then sweep him, right? That is the thought process there, and I still had Incin in the back waiting in case he did do that. So, unfortunately, I ran into a gimmick, but that's okay. We still pulled it out. All right, this last one, this one is not a good team. He's got Zero Aura. He wants to protect Yveltal and Ho-Oh from electric attacks, and you know, Groudon for Kyogre stuff, but like, yeah, I don't know about this one. There's Magearna with Whimsicott. I don't like it. I like anytime I see Whimsicott or like something that wants to set up Trick Room, I think like, you know, Zard Incin is just correct here, right? So just like fake him out, make sure I get speed control. He goes Whimsicott and Ho-Oh. I don't know why he did that, but this is easy, right? Because, you know, we just fake out the Whims. We just Airstream it. Like, he goes for Brave Bird. That's a bad play. And now we just click Airstream. And now we just have complete speed control. Then we can just go for Wildfire next turn, and now it's over. Yeah, and he just clicks Forfeit, right? So, like, you see how the team works, right? Like, Zern does a lot if you give it in position. Otherwise, Weakness Policy Zard with Groudon and Instant stuff is just really, really good. We haven't even had to use Zacian in these games, but like, again, these are like some like low ladder games, you know, just to show that the team can beat the easy stuff, you know, and the stuff, the way the team plays is still relatively the same as opposed to playing someone like 1600s. You just have to make, you know, different kinds of plays, but you know, it still works, right? So let's get you guys out of here. Let's show the pace one more time and give some final thoughts. All right, so here's that pace one more time. Again, we're going to put it in the video description. So we got a bulky Zern that can put out a lot of pressure after Geomancy. Grimmsnarl makes it all work with the screen support. Zard and Groudon do a lot of the heavy lifting, especially with, you know, Weakness Policy Zard and G-Max Wildfire things. Really, really good. Zacian, you know, if you can get the Solar Blade going against, you know, potential Groudon Kyogre games is really, really nice. And Incin is your backbone to try and help you set up that Geomancy. Really good into Trick Room games. But overall, it's just like a really, really good Sun team, right? I know there's Zern instead of something else, but like this is like Rinja Zern almost, right? Because there's no Gastrodon, but instead we have a Xerneas over here. But yeah, if there was a team to try and make Xern work, I think this is the one. So give this one a go, try it out. Let me know how you do. This will probably be one of the rentals in October. So all the more power to you, right? And again, if you're interested in coaching, all right, I haven't advertised this in a while. If you're interested in coaching and building teams from scratch like this with EV spreads, items, and movesets, okay, check out the video description below. That is a tier 3 sub to the channel. It's just $9.99, very, very easy. But if you yourself have a team and you want to just showcase, or just try and use a team, for the remainder of Series 13, and you just want me to fix it up a little bit, that's a tier 2 sub to the channel. It's $5, very, very, very affordable, and you get the most out of your money. I always try and teach you guys a couple things during these sessions, for those who really, really need it, and others have found it very, very helpful as well, right? So I'm always down for sharing my knowledge, right? Because that is my job. So we'll be back with another Series 13 video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good night.